Welcome to Zen and the Art of Self-Publishing. It's the podcast where we slow down, get honest, and put the human back at the center of author life. I'm your host, Janet Margot, so come on in and let's talk. Welcome, Jami Albright, award-winning rom-com author who's just released a women's fiction book, which is a little bit different. It's Steel Magnolias meets Schitt's Creek, which is one of my favorite TV shows. So welcome, Jami.
Thank you. Thank you. It's so exciting to be here.
So the book is called The Summer That Changed Us, and I really wanted to bring her on to talk to her about the inspiration for this book and the pivot that she's done with her career and whether or not this pivot she thinks is going to stick. So,
Okay.
Jami, talk to us. You have been writing laugh out loud romance for 9 years. And when readers think of you, they're thinking funny. So The Summer That Changed Us is really coming from the death of your sister. How does it feel to put out a book that starts like this? And I think you have a disclaimer there, like it contains themes of terminal illness and death of a sibling.
Yeah. It just feels right. It feels very natural and right. This book is incredibly funny. Like, it's very, very funny, but it's also very, very sad, and it's that juxtaposition of almost slapstick scenes, not quite,
Oh,
but
wow.
I mean, it's small town. It's a small town book. It's small town Texas, and so there are small town things that happen.
Right.
But it's juxtaposition with this family, going through this couple of month-long end of life care for a sibling and daughter, and so it was really a fine line to walk. Sometimes I didn't get it right, and I had to really go back and work on that a lot. But because my tendency is to write rom-com, it's to write a rom-com kind of thing. But I worked really, really hard, and I think I did it. I'm pretty positive that I accomplished and married those two things in a way that's not offensive and not distracting.
Right. So, but after this experience a couple years ago,
in 2022, so almost 4 years ago. Yeah.
Okay.
Three and a
So you
half,
did have to take a hiatus, right? You don't have to share more than you want to, but what did it feel like coming back to writing after that?
Well, after my sister died, first of all, I was there for I live in Houston. They all live in the same small town that we grew up in. And I was up there for 6 months. I think I went home 2 weekends during that 6 months. And so my youngest sister, I have 4 sisters, and my youngest sister and myself were the primary caregivers, and my mom and dad, because my other sisters worked, and my youngest was a teacher, so she was off during the summer. And this all happened during the summer and into the fall.
Right.
And so there's just a lot of trauma that comes with being the caregiver of someone who's dying, that nobody talks about. And so I knew that I would not be able to write for a while, probably even a year. I had really thought, I won't write for a year. That seemed acceptable. That seemed like an acceptable time period for me. But then as 1 year turned into 2 years, turned into 3 years, I began to wonder if I was ever going to write again. I just could not put words on a page. And in fact, up until I started this book, which was a year ago, the only thing I had written was my sister's obituary. So
oh my gosh.
It was, it was kind of terrible. It was a terrible time to not be writing. And then so going into writing this, I was terrified that I'd forgotten how to write.
Yeah.
Because it's a muscle, and if you don't use it, it's hard to get back into it. But I actually had little help because I started Adderall. I had been prescribed something else for my adult ADHD, and it hadn't worked. And so then I had started Adderall. I started on April 19th of last year. And that's the day I started the book. And so that helped a lot. In fact, I call it the book that Adderall wrote, because I wrote the first draft in 6 weeks, and I've never done that. I've never written a first draft that fast. I'm a
But a
very
lot
slow
of,
writer.
oh, really?
Hmm. I'm a
So
really slow writer.
a lot of authors would have written a sad book about losing a sister, especially a sister who was so
Yeah.
close. So
Yeah.
you wrote a funny one.
Yeah.
Was that a conscious choice, or is it just who you are?
I think it's just who I am. Also, during this time, one of the things that surprised me is how funny, or how funny we thought things were, and how funny things happened. And my sister is very funny, and she was funny until pretty much the end. Like 4 days before she died was her birthday, and was the one that kind of stayed with her during the night. That
Hmm.
morning when we woke up, I said happy birthday, and she did this pitiful little shimmy shake,
Oh my
so
God.
pitiful that I thought she was having another seizure.
Oh
But
my
no, it was in fact a shimmy shake
God. Right.
of her shoulders. I mean, that was her. And then pretty much by that evening, she was unconscious and stayed unconscious until she died. So that was kind of the last thing she did, was this little shimmy shake thing. And I mean,
What a
she was just
memory.
funny, and she did funny things and said funny things, um, the whole way, all the way through.
She didn't
And
lose her sense of humor.
not at all. And especially once she decided to go on hospice, which was the last month of her life,
Uh-huh.
that was almost it. The month prior, she had been in the hospital. We were trying this, well, she was trying this experimental. It really wasn't experimental, but they weren't really sure if it was going to work, and it didn't. Treatment. It and actually I can't say it worked, but her symptoms weren't improving, and she had lost her eyesight, and it was a lot of things. There were a lot of things. And that month she was not herself. She was not her normal funny self. We could
Hmm.
tell something is not right. But once she decided to go on hospice, it's like she was happy. Like, I think she was just happy that or relieved, more relieved than anything else. And sorry. And so she
You're kind of choking me up a little bit.
I know. And I've
I don't
talked
mean
about it so much
I
and
don't mean
lived.
to laugh. I don't mean to
No,
laugh, but
it's
it's like I'm
fine,
laughing,
but
I'm crying.
I
I'm
know.
actually feeling more emotional than I expected right now.
And it's funny because I think, because I've told this story now so much that I can tell it without that. But then
Yeah.
I'll hear something, like my narrator right now is recording the book, and
Oh
she's
wow.
doing a few lives.
Whew.
I gave her permission to do some lives, and I've
Oh wow.
cried listening to the book, so it's
Uh-huh.
kind of funny. But anyway, once she went on hospice, she did incredibly. I mean, she said and did some incredibly funny things. And then there were just funny things that
Yeah.
happened.
I know it can be absurd sometimes, right?
It's
Like
absurd. That
just
is the yeah.
yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Let's
Yeah.
take a little break from that so I don't
Yeah.
start like totally
It's
gushing
fine.
here. Let's
Yeah.
talk about the craft and some of the comp titles you're using. Steel Magnolias, Schitt's Creek, This Is Us.
Mhm.
These are
Yeah.
things that people love really
Mhm.
because they emotionally wreck you like I am getting emotionally wrecked
Yeah.
while also making you laugh. Was
Yeah.
that what you were chasing? Did you think of those comps from day one, or did that
Yeah.
just kind of, okay,
From day one.
interesting.
Actually, I had Steel Magnolias meets the Dukes of Hazzard, but then I realized Dukes of Hazzard, they're somewhat problematic. So I switched
You
to
know, my
Schitt's
my
Creek. But
roommate in New York dated a Duke of Hazzard.
oh, you're kidding. How
Tom
exciting.
Wopat. It was very weird.
Yeah.
It was very, very weird to
As an
have
aside,
to one of the
yeah.
dukes in the
Yeah,
apartment. But anyway,
in the
yeah.
apartment. But that would be weird. But
Yeah.
anyway, I knew from the beginning that if I was going to write this, it had to be this kind of book. I could not
Mhm.
write, I just didn't think I could survive writing a completely sad, devastating book without levity in it. And I mean, I just knew that's how I wanted to tell the story, because that's who she was. And
And just to reiterate, this is fiction.
It
So
is fiction.
Hope is coming home, marriage unraveled,
Mhm.
surrounded by a loud, chaotic family.
Mhm.
How much of this character would you say is, I know events are drawn from real life, but how about the
Mhm.
character itself? How much is that drawn from real life?
Uh, I am the oldest. Hope is the oldest. There is
Mhm.
this Hope doesn't live in the small town. I don't live in the small town.
Yeah.
So there are some parallels like that, and I think that my sisters in the book there is a scene where the one sister in particular talks about how Hope thinks she's better than everybody else because she doesn't live there anymore and she has this big fancy life.
Yeah.
And I don't have a big fancy life, but I think there has been that with my sisters before. I have felt it before and they probably felt like I thought I was smarter than them or better than them in some way. That's not the case anymore, but we have gone through that evolution. And then the perfectionism that at one point I had in my life, but I don't realized a long time ago because I'm a woman of a certain age, that that's impossible. The you can plan all you want and life will do what it wants, and so that sort of thing. But other than that, no, I've been happily married for 37 years, and all of that. That's different, but
So what
the
about
dynamics are
June?
the same.
June is the character, the sister who's been running from cancer for a decade.
Hmm. Hmm.
Obviously, that's well, not obviously, but that's the emotional center of the book. How hard
Yes.
was it to write her? Like, did you talk with your sister about
No,
what
I,
she was
I did.
feeling? Okay.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yes, I did.
Okay.
But,
Yeah.
there are things that I wish I had asked her that I didn't. I think because I was afraid of the answer or I
Sure.
didn't know if I could handle the answer. But there were things, I just knew. And she wasn't a suffer in silence kind of person. She talked about things and so there were a lot of things I knew, but I never dreamed I would write a book about this. But when the idea came up, I did talk to the rest of my family about it. Interestingly enough, I didn't talk to her husband. I talked to my sisters and my mom and dad about whether they would be okay if I did this.
And what was
And
everyone's reaction?
they were. I was kind of surprised that nobody had and I told them that it would be like it would not be our story, but it would be based,
Based on,
inspired by our story. Yeah.
sure.
And they were all fine with it. I did eventually talk to her husband, and he was fine. He was fine, but I had
Has he
already
read it?
written. I don't think so, and I doubt he will. I doubt he will. He's still not okay, And she had two kids. I did not write June with. June does not have any children, and I did that. That was on purpose.
Sure.
A couple of reasons. The biggest is I wanted to protect their privacy
Mhm.
and not portray them and not portray any child that could even resemble them. And that would be hard because, everybody acts pretty much the same when someone's dying. And
What do you
also,
mean everyone acts pretty much the same when
well, I
someone's
mean,
dying?
it would just be devastating. I mean, you're devastated. You can either kind of ignore it, but you're still devastated, or you can engage with it and you're
Some people
devastated.
are angry though, or
Yeah,
it,
well,
or it manifests as anger.
yes, and my niece, uh, daughter, she was 12 at the time, 11, 12,
I can't
and she
imagine.
was very angry, very, very
Hmm.
angry, and still, I mean, still is in a lot of ways. But because of that, I just did not want to even make it. I did not want anyone to read it and draw any parallels between the two
Sure.
because that felt invasive. And then the second reason is this book has a ton of characters. There are five sisters, two parents, two husbands, and an ex husband.
That
I
is like
mean,
Steel Magnolias.
there are so many characters.
Yeah.
And I had considered shopping this book. And in fact, did let a friend of mine or a friend, she's someone I know. She's a acquiring editor for one of the big five. And
Hmm.
I let her read it. But pretty soon after I'd sent it to her, I was like, well, I hope she doesn't want this. Because I knew the first thing they would do is say, there cannot be this many characters. There
Oh,
cannot be
wow.
five sisters. You have to cut it down to two, three
Yeah.
sisters, or something. And I was not going to do that. I mean, that was my non-negotiable. There were two non-negotiables. One, there would be five sisters, and two, she would die. Like, I was not going to sugarcoat that. So those, I knew that I needed to self-publish that book because of that.
So I want to be a little transparent with listeners. Jami and I have some history here. We met at a conference a couple of years ago and realized that we were going through grief at the same time. And later we had dinner together here in Mexico City, where I'm currently located. And you were still kind of in the thick of it. And I remember encouraging you to write through grief, and you're like, no, because you didn't want to write something sad. Yeah. What changed other than the Adderall?
Yeah, the Adderall. Well, I mean, I left Mexico City with no, and my daughter was with us when we had dinner, and she was like, Mom, I think that would be a good thing. And I was like, no. Also, I did not know how I would tell the story. Like, I couldn't figure out whose point of view. Would I do all the sisters' point of view? Would I do the dying sister's point of view? But that felt inauthentic because I really don't know. I mean, I watched my sister die, but I don't know how that feels. So I just couldn't figure it out. But the idea would not let go. You know, you planted the seed and it just wouldn't let go. And about 5 months afterwards, I was driving home to my parents' house, and I'm always listening to something, a podcast, a book, or whatever. But I wasn't. I was just listening to music. And as I was driving along, the way I could tell the story just hit me. I knew exactly how I could tell the story. And that's when I decided I would write it. And the rest is history. Yeah.
And what about, since you were still, when you started it, you were still grieving. You're known for your sharp banter, comedic timing. Did humor feel like a tool, or was it kind of like a lifeline to get through the story? Or through the time?
Okay. Yeah, a little of both. Because as I've said, that is how we dealt with it as a family. I mean, we were completely inappropriate a lot of the time. And
I love it.
Because my sister's, she was the most inappropriate of us all. But also, I just knew, and I really do think I've done this in this book, is taking people to the brink where you think, I cannot go one step farther, and then pulling them back with humor, which is a tool. And so it was a little of both. The second I had to really work at, because when I wrote the first draft, it was really just our story. I mean, there was a little fiction, like hope was in it, and the scaffolding of fiction was there, but it was our story. It's exactly what we went through. And so that after I finished it, I thought, okay, am I going to go on? Because I could have just stopped there and just, okay, I've recorded this for me. My mother has very few memories of that time. I think it was just so traumatic.
Sure.
And so I could have just shown it to her, and she could have had it if she wanted it. But I decided to go on, and that was harder than even writing the first draft, because then I had to take a true story and make it a fictional story. And that was really difficult because I had to kill your darlings. I had to kill a bunch of darlings and things that I thought were important or that were touching and meaningful to us that really
didn't have a place.
It didn't serve the story. And so that was really hard and very tricky. But so the humor really was a conscious decision, mostly because that's how we dealt with it. And because I knew that people, I mean, if I was going to keep people in this story, I had to give them something to hope for in a lot of ways. Yeah.
So you have a line in the description. It says, the kind of honesty that sneaks up and wrecks you, which I'll be honest, like I haven't read the book, partly because I don't know that I can handle the wreckage.
No, and I think it's not for everybody. Yeah.
I might read it at some point, but the whole grief thing is just still a little too tender for me. But as time goes on, it gets easier. And I'm super interested in it, which is why I wanted to have you on here. But when did you realize that you were writing something other than the obvious of, your sister passing? When did you realize you were really writing something different than anything you've written before? Or was it just always?
From the beginning, yeah,
Okay.
from the beginning. I knew that if I wrote this, that I would be making a giant pivot. But the thing is that my books from about 2022, at the end of 2022 and on, had really not been selling. Uh, Regardless, everything I tried just did not work. Some of it was
Is it because
just
your heart wasn't in it?
no. It was because I couldn't get anything to work. I couldn't get ads to work. I couldn't get,
Right, but was
if
your
I did,
focus there during that time? That's what
uh,
I mean. That's what I mean about your heart
it
not being
was,
in it.
it was, and it wasn't.
Okay.
Like I didn't really have a lot of energy to like schedule out months of
Yeah.
promotion or months of swaps and stuff, like
Yeah.
things I had done in the past, because my books had always sold, and they kind of sold on their own. I always ran ads and I always did things, but it was not hard to sell those books. And then all of a sudden it is. But a lot, or it was, and it still is. But a lot of things changed. I changed. The market changed some because it was
Yeah.
after 2020, things had started changing.
Yeah. Post-COVID world,
And
we're solidly
mhm,
into it by 2022.
yeah, yeah. And then I also wasn't releasing. So,
Okay.
when you don't
You lose,
release, and I'm a KU author, so you
you need the
lose
momentum.
momentum. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So that was kind of because they weren't really selling. I thought if I'm going to make a pivot, this could be a good time to do it. But I did worry. I worried a lot about my audience. But then once I had seen kind of the shape of the book, and yes, it does deal with that. My rom coms are very emotional. In fact, if I get the criticism I've gotten about my rom coms is that they're more emotional than they need to be, kind of thing. There's just
Interesting.
yeah, there are always themes in my rom coms that
Uh-huh.
are a little heavier than maybe somebody else's rom com.
But this is
Yeah.
with
Oh,
the,
it's
yeah.
much different. Much
Yeah.
different. Yeah. Yeah. So I did worry, but it was sort of like I don't have anything else to write. And I remember telling my daughter, I'm it's painful not to write, and it's painful to write. This is before I started writing the book.
Yeah.
Just the thought of sitting down to write causes me pain, but not writing causes me pain. And my daughter said, well, I guess you get to choose your pain. And that really
Oh,
stuck
wow.
with me. And when I started writing, it was painful. It was
Right.
really painful. But it was like, I don't know, it gave me some agency to know that I could choose my pain. And
Sure.
that's the pain I was choosing. So, yeah.
So you have, for those listeners who don't know, Jami co-hosts a fantastic podcast, Wish I'd Known Then,
Mm-hmm.
has 500,000 downloads. Have you
Mm-hmm.
talked about your sister on the podcast? Has your journey through grief been public or private?
Oh, it's been so public. I can't keep anything to myself. I'm an oversharer from way back. Uh, I mean, from the time she got sick, I was talking about it, and then when she went on hospice, I did a show and told them we did a show, and I said she's decided to go on hospice, and I won't be here for a while.
Mhm.
And then I went back about a month after she died. I started recording again, and oh my gosh, I've listened to some of those episodes, and I'm like, "Hello, welcome to the Wish I'd Known the book." Like I'm so depressed, you can hear it in my
I
voice.
I had to tune out that point. I remember hearing
Mm-hmm.
you talk about it. I was like, yeah, nope.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I know, and
I mean,
I
because
think
I
a
was
lot of
going through the
people,
same thing. Yeah.
yeah,
So,
yeah. And but I just, we from the beginning of our podcast, one of the things Sarah and my co-host Sarah Rosette,
yeah.
who's a fantastic historical mysteries author, she she and I really just decided we would be like really honest and transparent. The podcast we had liked when we were both starting were the ones that where people were just being real and doing their things.
Human.
Little did I know this would be what I'd be sharing. But
Right.
and we did get, I don't know, it was about 6 months after my sister died, we did get a review that said, I'm really sorry Jamie's sister died, but do we have to keep talking about it, kind of thing. And I know.
Oh
And
my gosh.
Sarah, who, if y'all know, like I'm the hype girl. Sarah is very even. She is very quiet. She's
Yeah.
very smart, but she is introverted. She is just a very even person. She got so mad about that review that she's the one that addressed it on the podcast, and it was very pointed, because she
Wow.
was like, this is like, from the beginning we have said we were going to share our lives with you, and
Yeah.
if this is not what you want to hear, you can go listen somewhere else. And it was, I was surprised that she was so upset. I mean, I kind of laughed it off because I get it. I mean, I get it, but and it's not the first time I've been told you tell too much or share too much, but for her, she really took up an offense for me, and I appreciated it. But yeah, so we just have always done that. So it wasn't uncommon or out of the ordinary for me to share that.
Hmm. Hmm.
Yeah.
So, what did you learn about yourself as a writer by
Mm.
going to this darker place or
I kind
writing
of
about
like.
the darker place? You
Yeah,
liked it?
I like it. I like it. I liked it. It's hard. Like, I wrote this book sitting in Starbucks every day from April 19th until I finished that first draft. Well, even after that, but till I finished the first draft, I wrote in Starbucks, and I would go every day, same time. I would sit there, write, and cry, and like in public, I'm writing and crying in public, and the joke is they would just walk by and slide a napkin onto my table to
Oh
make
my
sure I had a
gosh.
tissue. But nobody asked me or what was going on or anything. But I'm so superstitious, and because I hadn't been able to write, like, I was afraid not to go, and I was afraid if I
Yeah.
stayed home, I wouldn't be able to write it. And I think that is true. I don't really think I could have written this book at home, just because it was so sad and emotional. I don't know if I could have pulled myself out of it the
I
way I was able to.
I could imagine maybe if I was at home trying to do something like that, um, just getting distracted. Like something
Yeah.
needs
Yeah.
cleaning.
I mean, right.
Not even
Well, yeah.
consciously, you
No,
know?
exactly, because it is
Yeah.
painful, and we want
Yeah.
to pull away from the pain. But
Yeah.
I do like writing this, and I think, you may be going to ask me this later, but I think I am going to write another, not quite, nobody's dying in the next story, but it's more of a women's fiction kind of journey, examining relationships and, um, female relationships and things like that. I really like that. And
That's exciting.
the emotion,
Yeah.
the really deep emotion, but also
Yeah.
the humor, balancing that. I like that challenge of doing that.
And it sounds like from what you were saying, your rom-coms already got that feedback that there was
Hmm.
emotion. So like leaning into
Hmm.
that seems like a
Yeah,
natural
it does.
path.
It does. And I feel like with this book, um, I feel like I've always had a really strong voice when I write. I think some of that comes from, being older when I started writing, because I didn't start writing until I was 50. And also because I didn't know any better. I, like, I didn't do an MFA, and I didn't really study writing. And so there wasn't a lot of pretentiousness with my
Yeah.
writing, with my voice. I
Yeah.
think that lended itself to having a strong voice. I wasn't trying to be anybody else, just me.
To shoot. Yeah.
Um, and also, this has gotten me in trouble a lot of the time too. I write like I talk, and so because of that, oh, I'm sorry, my dog.
Okay.
That lends itself to having a strong voice too, and so, but I think even with that, with my rom coms, I might have been not mimicking, but writing like I thought I should for a rom com. I don't know if that makes sense, but with
It
this, I feel
does,
like this is a
especially
very true voice. This may be more me than a rom com. So.
that's interesting. I think that's an important call out because I
Mhm.
do think that these days we're told so much also to write to market or to really
Yeah,
look what's selling in the genre. And
yeah,
so sometimes I think that can I know that when I personally try to do that, um, I'm almost shooting myself in the foot because my voice goes away. I
Yeah.
don't realize I'm silencing myself so much
Hmm.
when my voice is the differentiator anyway.
Right. And my writing has never, like, technically, I'm not gonna I've won some writing awards, but it's because people just get caught up in the story and the voice of the story
Yeah.
and the funniness of the story.
Yeah.
I'm never gonna win a technical writing contest. Like, I will be at the bottom probably every time. But but I think if you can, I think the authenticity you bring to the page
Yeah.
will make up for a lot of technical, skill that you
Yeah.
don't have. And I really feel like, from the feedback I've gotten from the book so far, it's only been out a few days, but a few people have read it. Um, is that it is so genuine and honest that they couldn't really look away. Like, they wanted to know,
Oh,
even though
wow.
they knew what was going to happen,
Yeah.
they wanted to stay to see how this family would survive. Yeah, I
So
think
even
that,
though
yeah.
when you know something, when you know the things that happened, it's like,
Mhm.
how is Jamie going to tell the story
Yeah. How is she going to
in your
get us
voice?
through this? Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
exactly. Yeah. And so I like that. Love, I mean, like, I have some thoughts on another book, and I get excited thinking about how can I explore these relationships that can be really difficult but also really great. Like, that's the thing about this book too, is the family aspect of it. And family is, it's a real touchy subject right now. People going no contact and all of
Oh,
that. And I
yeah.
would never judge anybody, because I don't live that life and I don't
Mm-hmm.
know. But what I would like people to get from this book is that if you have a family you can be with and connect with, but you're not because it's inconvenient, or there have been some things said that aren't, emotionally traumatizing. But if you can make up and be with your family and have a relationship with your family, do it, because we need each other. And I don't know how we would have survived if we had not been a unit as a family. And look, don't get me wrong, my sisters and I can fight like crazy, and we don't get along. And there are things they do I don't like, and there are things I do that they don't like. But we could agree on Joni, and we could agree on this. And I will tell you that our relationship is so much better and richer because of this.
That's beautiful.
Hmm.
That's
Yeah,
really beautiful.
yeah.
Yeah, just because you don't get along all the time and people have different points of view and,
Hmm.
not saying the most ideal things doesn't mean you can't support one another in the thick of it,
Right, right. I
you
mean,
know?
did I want to live in the small town I grew up in for 6 months?
Yeah, that
No,
sounds
not at
dreadful.
all. It was dreadful. And because, of course, I always say this: anytime I go home, I never see people when I look good. I'm always seeing people when I look my absolute worst. And that's sort of how it was. People would come over because my sister was incredibly, I mean, she had just so many friends, and people love my family, and love my mom and dad mostly. And so people were just in and out of the house all the time, and I was a wreck. There's a scene where Hope hasn't washed her hair in a long time, and because she just can't, it's too much effort. That's
Yeah.
just one thing she can't do. And that really did happen to me. My hair was just hanging in greasy strands, and because I did not have the energy to go wash my hair.
Yeah.
I mean, all of my energy was on keeping myself alive and keeping Joni alive for another day or
Yeah.
two, and dealing with other people's emotions too is just really hard. But yeah, so I didn't want to do that. I didn't want to be away from my husband and my family, my house. And but it was
Your own
worth it.
comforts during a hard
Yes.
time you're even
Oh, I
away
slept on the
from.
sofa. I
Yeah.
slept on the sofa. I mean,
Which makes it
and
even more traumatic and dramatic,
yes.
the whole
Yeah.
thing. Yeah.
Yeah. But I would I would not give any comfort in the world is not worth what I got from that
Sure.
experience. And I would
Sure.
do it again in a heartbeat. I mean, we said to her more than once, we would do this forever, but you don't want to do this forever. This is
No.
horrible for you. But we would have done it forever. And so anyway, but that's what I really would like family or people to get, or if you didn't grow up in that kind of family, to, you know, create that kind of family, even if it's not with people you were born into, you know, you can
Yeah, you can have
create
a
that with
found
other
family.
people. Yeah.
Sure,
Yeah. Yeah.
sure. Maybe that's what it is. I was going to say that there can be a beauty in darkness. There can be a beauty in death, but it's
Mhm.
not the passing or the loss of the person itself that's beautiful.
No.
It's definitely kind of what happens around it with
Mhm.
family, with
Mhm.
relationships that I find really beautiful.
Yeah.
And maybe because
Yeah.
I've had to. I don't know.
Yeah. No, it's true. I mean, you do it's kind of necessity. You know, you have either that or you just spin off and become this person, or in my case, this person I didn't want to be. You know,
Yeah.
I've I can't like on the Clifton strengths. I'm number two positivity, and I've always questioned that because I'm like, I'm really not that I mean, like, I can tell you the worst case scenario just about in anything, but I I think there is this level of positivity that's kind of always shored up my life and the things I've done. Um, in that I just think something better can come. You know, I love the mail because there's always that chance that big old check is coming in the mail. It's never come, but it still could.
Yeah.
And so that's sort of how I've lived my life, and I like that part about me. And I didn't realize it until I was in the depths of this after she
Yeah.
died, and I didn't see anything good. There was just no good. And, you know, I have these grandchildren that I love and adore. And it was hard to even see good in that because
Mm.
everything was just so dark. And I don't
And
want to
all
live in that.
consuming,
It
just
is.
all
And
consuming.
there is a time for that. Like there is
Yeah.
a period of time that that's going to be the case. It doesn't matter what you do. That is going to be the case. But there is a point that you can get stuck in that, and if we if you don't make an effort, I think, and that's hard to say. I'm not, please don't hear me say I'm judging anybody that doesn't make the effort, because that's, you have the right to do whatever you need to do. But for me, if I didn't make some effort, I would have stayed in that, and that's
Yeah.
just not good. It wouldn't have been good for me. So,
So let's talk a little bit about the business of this book. We've
oh
already talked
yes.
about how it's a departure, even though you have the humor. It's definitely a
Yeah.
departure. But how are
Mhm.
you thinking about marketing it to your existing readership versus reaching new readers? I know we talked about this a little bit offline a few weeks
Yeah,
ago.
I decided to, well, what I did was I offered it on Curios, which is
Oh, yeah.
yeah, they serve as a merchant of record if you have
Yeah.
like a store. I don't have a store, but I did set this book up on Curios, and for my readers to buy in advance. I
Uh-huh.
gave the week before. I gave them the opportunity to buy it in advance for a lesser price,
Yeah.
because this book is priced at $7.99, which is
Hmm.
higher than anything I've. I mean, my books are priced at $5.99, six
But
nine.
it's
I've
women's
even had them,
fiction. So,
but it's women's fiction, and I felt like that was. Plus, it's a wide book. That's another thing. Like, here's the deal. I I love to make things hard on myself. I changed genres and I went wide. I mean, what else could I do to make? How much harder could this be? But I offered it to them, and I had about 100 people take me up on it and bought it for. I sold it for $5 on my site, and because I was trying to protect my also bots from a lot of romance readers buying this women's fiction
did
book.
you mean for your also bots, though? Are you talking about the also bots as Jamie the author or the specific ASIN? Because those are different.
Uh, yeah, Jamie the author.
Okay.
Yeah, Jamie the
Okay.
author. And so so I did that, but it turns out a lot of I mean, I've sold probably more in on my from my newsletter to the stores than I did on my site. I think that was a big leap to ask my readers to go to a site they weren't familiar with
Yeah.
to buy a book. But I still am glad I did it. I think it was the right move. But the downside of that is the launch has been a little disappointing for me, and I'm gonna just be honest. The ebook did not break the top. I think it got to 10,000 in the store, and the paperback did get down to 8,000, which I
But
was
what
kind
are
of
you
surprised about.
comparing it to? Because you did change genres.
My old
Yeah, so
launches
that
as a
was
KU author
yeah,
5 years ago. I mean that
yeah,
doesn't make any sense. I mean,
it
I get
doesn't.
that. It doesn't, but I've never launched look higher than 1,500 in the store. My first book
That was your
launched at 15.
baseline, yeah, I
Yeah.
get it,
And so
yeah.
for me, I knew it wouldn't be that because I am wide, but I
Wait,
was
and it's a
thinking,
standalone. Your
and
rom-coms were series, right?
they were serious. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
It's a standalone. But I did think I was hoping for less than 5,000. I was just like, if I can get to that, I think that would, because I felt like I could maybe hold it there for a little while, but it's stayed below 20,000, and it's actually dropped. Like it's improved over the last
yeah,
couple of days, which the ebook, well, both have, but I've been kind of surprised about that.
mhm,
But I have made a push. I've gotten involved. I did a couple of swaps on Book Funnel with
mhm,
some women's fiction authors. I know some women's fiction authors, some pretty big ones, but because they are big, they don't do swaps. They
yeah,
don't, they've all mentioned me, in a Facebook post or,
yeah,
whatever. But that's different than putting you out in their newsletter. And so um doing this has, over the last couple of days, I can see a difference because I've done these swaps, and then I
good.
made a push on my website too. I mean, not my website, my email list
And
again.
did you worry about reader expectations? Because you know that
Mm,
fans love your books for a specific reason?
yeah, I really set the expectation for my
Okay.
newsletter. Like I told, like weeks in advance. Well, I've I've kept this newsletter. I mean, I've had this newsletter, since I had my rom com books, and
Did you
it's
continue
long.
working the newsletter though when you were
I did for about a
and
year
so
and a
they knew what
half.
you were going through
Yeah,
to
they
some
all
extent?
knew.
Okay.
Well, to some extent,
Yeah,
they
yeah.
knew. But after about a year and a half, when I wasn't releasing, I was like, I can't. Like
Yeah,
it didn't make any sense to just go,
sure.
hey, I'm still struggling, how are y'all? I mean, that
Yeah,
just, nobody wants to read that. So I because my newsletters also have been a slice of life, that's really how they've always been.
sure.
And it didn't seem right, and I didn't want to. Frankly, I just didn't want to. But they stayed with me. I mean, I still have about a 35% open rate.
Yeah.
Not horrible. And for a newsletter that was virtually dead, but I came back, told them what I was doing, told them the book was coming out, told them what it was about, that it
Mhm.
wasn't a rom-com. I mean, there is a temple kiss. That is it. Like there's
Yeah.
no romance.
Yeah.
I can't say there's no romance. There is this romantic theme that is, but it's very buried. Like nobody's even mentioned it. And I kind of
Okay.
thought people would, or maybe be dissatisfied with it or
Yeah.
something like that, but they didn't. And, I mean, they haven't said anything yet, but it's the ex-husband, he comes back, kind of thing. And but it is not a romance at
So
all.
then
It is a love story, but
yeah.
it's a
Oh,
love story
yeah.
between sisters
I
and
love
a
that.
family, and even this ex-husband, because he's been with the family a very long time,
Sure.
like since June was 3 or 4. He has been with this family,
Oh,
and
wow.
so it is this love, because June is 10 years younger than Hope.
Mhm.
Joni was 10 years younger than me, but it is a love story, but it's not a romantic love
Romantic.
story.
So then
And
what was your thought process then about deciding to keep with your name and not spin up a different pen name?
well, someone named Janet Margot, I talked to.
I wasn't
uh,
trying to
no, I know.
take any credit for this.
Well, I mean, I did consider writing it
Yeah.
under my real name. It's just a different last name. My name's
Yeah.
Jamie. But I felt like I had built up enough credibility as Jami Albright,
Yeah.
and not just credibility, but goodwill. Like,
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
and not intent, like not in a mercenary way, but I have helped a lot of people, and I've given people chances that nobody else did. Like for a couple of years, when my books were doing well, I ran a newsletter where I sent people out in that newsletter. It was separate from my regular newsletter, that had 1,500 or less people on their email. I mean, on their their
Yeah.
email list, because that's the hardest thing, is finding email
Subscribers.
subscribers. Oh
Yeah.
gosh, had a little brain fart there. Um, and and then finding visibility. So I
Yeah.
sent them out to my 15,000 subscriber newsletter, and they all, my subscribers loved it because I don't release fast, and it gave them books they could find, and it helped other people. And
Yeah.
so I just felt like there was, I don't know, I did, it didn't feel right to do it under a different name. So I didn't.
Also, I think one of the things that people, and I think I had mentioned this to you when we were talking about a new pen name. One of the things people don't quite grasp is that it's not just using a different pen name on the book. Like, you have to spin up a whole author persona
Yeah.
and a new newsletter and the whole thing. New website.
Yeah.
Like, there's a lot to
Yeah.
do.
And in case my reputation with Amazon was important, I have no idea. But, I mean, because we don't know what happens behind the scenes. But in case of that, that that they may recognize the bots may recognize my name
Yeah.
as someone who's put out books, who's done well. I wanted to hang on to that. I didn't want, especially in this age of people putting out a lot of things that they don't write, or
Yeah.
all the stuff. I'm not getting into that, but I did not want to come up with a brand new pen name and try to build that.
So you have a lot of
That seemed like
credibility.
more work. Yeah,
You have a
I,
lot of
I think that's it.
credibility.
Yeah, I think the credibility, and so yeah, that's why I decided to do it.
And you weren't looking to hide behind a pen name either.
No,
You
no.
didn't need to
Mm-mm,
obfuscate or anything.
mm-mm.
So you've been publishing for 9 years, right? 9?
Mm-hmm,
Is that correct?
mm-hmm.
You've
Yeah.
built this awesome podcast.
Mm-hmm,
You've coached other authors too.
mm-hmm. Yeah.
Um, what do you know now about craft and the business of writing that you wish you'd known at the beginning? I just stole that from your podcast.
Thank you. I wish I had known that it's not, I mean, that it's just hard. It doesn't get easier. In fact, the more you know, the harder it gets, I think. The more you know about craft, the harder it is to craft a story that kind of lives up to your expectation.
Yeah.
Not necessarily the reader's expectation, but your expectation.
Your own.
You can have success and do everything right. I mean, when my books stopped selling, I was still doing all the things that I had been doing, and then they just stopped selling. And there's no right, like, there are just so many things you can't control. And I wish I had known that. Not that it would have changed much, but I think there is some comfort in knowing that it's not you, because I took it real personal for a while.
I have to tell you, I really appreciate that, because I started this podcast, Zen and the Art of Self-Publishing, because I want people to chill out, that there's things you can't control. There are things you can't control. And I think some of the angst that we get as authors is when we're trying to hold on and make it work. And I'm doing all the things, and what's not going on, what's going wrong? Why is it not working? All that stuff. There are so many variables. I always talk about controllable inputs, the things you can control. It doesn't mean you're going to control the output. You can only control the input. And then there's all those variables, like you mentioned before, about what's happening behind the scenes at Amazon that we don't know, that Amazon employees don't even really know. Like, there's so much stuff that's going on that you have to chill out about some of it and just go with life's flow.
I will say that I have held on to that past success. Like, I've coveted it. It has been very hard for me, because I miss that. I liked who I was when I was not. I mean, not just the money, because I was making really good money. I
Mm-hmm.
had really good ranks. People knew who I was.
Yeah.
Here's the thing. I was putting out one book a year, and I was making a living, and not just a
That's
little bit of living.
great.
And so I was doing the thing that people said couldn't be
Sure.
done. You
I
know,
know. You have
I
to rapid
missed,
release. Yeah.
yes, I missed that. I missed
Mm-hmm.
who I was. However, what I had to come to grips with was
Mm-hmm.
there was a lot of anxiety and a lot of this
Mm.
frantic energy that was around that
Mm-hmm.
time
Mm-hmm.
that I don't have the energy for now. And I
Your
don't
frantic
want.
energy or the noise
Yes,
around you?
no, my
Okay.
frantic energy. But
Okay.
it was because of the noise around me
Right.
that everybody was like, you gotta stay ahead,
Yes.
you gotta keep up,
Yes.
people are looking,
Yes.
that kind of thing. And I don't want that. And I had said that prior to this release, like the victory is in writing this book. I wrote a book. I wrote a book that honors the bravest, most fearless, most inappropriate person I've ever known. And I did the second hardest thing I've ever done. The first being watching her die. And that is the victory. And what this book does doesn't matter. That's what I said. Turns out I didn't really mean it, because I've been pretty upset the last couple of days.
Oh
I
no.
mean, I think I only meant it if the book was doing well.
I
But I do,
know.
I want to mean it.
Sure.
And I have over, like, I released on Monday. So Monday evening, I was like, this is looking weird. And then Tuesday, I was beginning the crash out. By Wednesday, I was crashing out. But yesterday, I kind of came to the place where crashing out and being upset that this book is not performing the way I thought it should, which is based on bad information, frankly, um, is disrespectful to the fact that I wrote this book, the process, what I had to go through to write this book. It's disrespectful to the subject of this book, which is
Yeah.
grief and love and hope. Um, and I don't want that. I still don't want that franticness. But
Right.
I did feel it the last few days, and today has been so much better. And not because anything has necessarily changed, except my attitude towards it. Yeah. So,
Yeah, because that noise, that frantic noise does not help.
no.
And you're doing all the right things. And
Yeah.
I know you're going to be getting more podcast invitations too, which I'll tell you about offline. Some
Okay.
people are very excited that you are coming on. So I just want to talk very briefly. You did say about what's next, that you're
Mm-hmm.
thinking of writing more, leaning into emotional depth
Mm-hmm.
and women's fiction.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think you'd make this into a series? Like write about this family, or do you think you're going to switch
I
into
think I'm going to
standalones?
switch. I
Okay.
did consider writing about this family, but after I finished, I think the story is done. My daughter did say the ex-husband's name is Ian. My daughter, after she read it, she said, now I want to know what happens with Hope and Ian. And, I could
Oh,
write a
wow.
romance about Hope and Ian, but
Yeah.
I don't want to.
Yeah.
There's not a story there to tell, I don't
Also,
think.
this might be sacred for you.
It is. It's sacred. And also,
Yeah.
I feel like I feel like I told the story.
Yeah.
Anything else, then I would have to then I would have to delve into the post grief of someone dying, because there's this thing when you have someone's terminally ill, there's this anticipatory grief
Yeah.
that nobody really talks about, but it
Yeah.
really is true. And then the death happens, and then you have the real grief, the grief that lasts your lifetime. And I don't
And
know that I
processing
want
the
to do that.
before,
Yes.
processing the
Mhm.
passing season too, that
Mhm.
all
Yeah.
of that.
hmm And I just don't know that I want to go there. That doesn't mean
That's fair.
I'm not gonna write about things that are difficult and heavy. It just means I don't want to go there. I don't
Sure.
want to go back there with that family, maybe. I think really what you said, that it's sacred. This is the um, the dedication is to my sister Joni, and it's like, you live in my heart, but you are in every word of this book, and it is true. And now I'm gonna cry, but I just don't want. I don't want that to be lost. I don't
Sure.
want to give that up. So yeah.
I love that. Honor that.
And I feel a little weird. I will say this, writing about something that's personal that's happened. I have asked my family, my mom in particular, like, is it wrong that I'm talking about her to sell this book? I have felt, I have wanted to make sure that's respectful. And the book is not grief porn. I wanted to make sure of that. But I don't want the aftermath to be grief porn either. You know what I'm saying? Just to get likes.
It doesn't feel like it. As somebody who went through grief too, and around the same time, it doesn't feel like grief porn to me. I haven't read it, but I mean, it's not giving me that impression at all.
No, I don't think it is.
I love the honoring of her. I think that's just a beautiful thing. And I also think, what I learned in going through grief, one of the things is like, I was, a lot of people can't talk about it with you. And so I think that there's a lot of people who are going through grief alone or have gone through grief alone who this can really help.
Yeah. And that is really what I want people to know. If you're in the middle of grief, I mean, if you're walking through what we walked through and you're falling apart and you are not handling it, it's okay. Like, that's okay.
It is okay. And it's also okay to find humor in it, because there are things.
Yes. That are hilarious.
Yeah.
One of the things my sister kept, she kept saying before she got really bad, okay, who's going to wipe my butt? Like, who's going to do that?
It's true. It's true.
None of us are. You're going to have to hire somebody. We all were like, no thanks.
Outsource.
Of course, we were all fighting to do it by the end of the time she died, because you're just dedicated. Like, you're dedicated to the process. Once you make the choice to stay in it, because I could have gone back home. My other sisters could have gone back home, or, not been around, but we made the decision to be in it. And once you make that decision to be in it, all bets are off. You get to act however you want to act once you make that decision. Also,
those are, I just remember this feeling like those are points of connection. Yeah. Like, even if it's the nastiest thing you never wanted to do, you're connecting with that person and you're making them more comfortable and them feel loved.
Right.
And that's a beautiful thing.
Yeah.
I have to thank you for joining today. Where can listeners find you, the book, and of course your podcast?
Yes. So the podcast is Wish I'd Known Them for Writers, and you can find it on all the places. We're on
I'll
Substack.
include it in the show notes too.
Yeah. Substack, Apple, Spotify, all the places.
Yep.
We do a weekly show, so we're taking June off, but we're still putting something out, but we'll be back in July.
There's a big backlog catalog of great episodes. So
there are. We've been doing it since 2020. We started in January of 2020. So
oh wow, great timing.
I know. Who would have thought? It saved us. It's absolutely saved us. And then you can find out all about me at jamialbright.com, and that's Jami, Jami, no E. I found when people don't know how to spell my name, they just start adding vowels, but it's just Jami. And then the book is The Summer That Changed Us, and it's on all the platforms. Yeah,
go out and buy it. Jami, thank you again. I am really honored that you came on when I'm just starting out here. I appreciate it.
I am very honored that you asked. Yeah, I was very excited. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Well, that's our show. Find resources and more at zenandtheartofselfpublishing.com. I'm Janet, and I'll see you next time. Until then, take a deep breath, trust your work, and keep writing.